What's up, AfterBuzzers? It's that time again. We're talking season 4, episode 6 of The Magicians, A Timeline and Place. We're talking all sorts of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey time sort of things, so stick around.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
That was the best of us.
Yeah, wibbly-wobbly's hard to say.
Guys, it's that time again. That's right. See, it's Thursday night. It's our favorite night of the week. It's Wednesday night, actually. I'm getting this confused with the Titan game. It's Wednesday night. NyQuil, it's a hell of a...
It's all good. It's rainy in LA. It's cold. We're confused.
We're talking season 4, episode 6 of the Magicians, A Timeline and Place. My name is Ty Matthews. Joining me, as always, been here since day one. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Adrian Snow.
Hello, everyone.
We're tag teaming it tonight,
Right?
y'all.
Original night.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking the OGs right here.
Right.
Shout out to Carrie Lane, Samantha Benitez, Joel Monique, all of
the past.
all of our favorite absolute
And the currents, Nate.
Of course.
Stephanie.
Nate will be back. Yes, exactly. Sadly, yes, as you mentioned, Stephanie Samra will not be able to join us the rest of this for the rest of the season. I am so sad, but we are working on some things to fill that position on the panel that I'm pretty excited about. So stick around, stay tuned, all that good stuff. Let's talk about this episode. We're going to be talking all these different timelines. We're going to be talking Cameron Manheim.
Yes.
Guest star. Unexpected guest star, Cameron Manheim, but a welcome surprise.
The practice.
Yes, I think you're right. I'm pretty sure you're right.
The practice.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm 95% sure on that.
You'll be hitting us with another God of the Week later on in the episode. Very excited.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start out with Cameron Manheim's character, Sheila, and Alice.
Yeah.
Alice, the World Book has taken Alice to Modesto. Of all places.
That's California, eh?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's only, I want to say 3 hours north of here, maybe 4 hours north of here.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. Not too far.
It's a small town.
Exactly.
It's a farm town.
Yeah.
From what I can recall. Maybe some wine. Cows.
The recurring question that keeps popping up is, what's there to do in Modesto?
From what I think I just named them. You know,
Exactly.
It's a farm town, some cows, maybe some wine.
Exactly. Yeah. She's taken to Googling it and asking random gas station hedge witches.
Yeah.
Right?
That guy, I recognized him from something else, and so the moment I saw him, I was like, he's not a regular gas station guy. This guy is gonna be making a few appearances.
Right.
And you know, I do love. I think they'll probably give him like Alice a love interest in maybe that guy.
Interesting. Okay.
Maybe not.
I can
I'm
see
cool with
that.
her being alone as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Of
Do
course.
that lone life.
Sure.
You know.
Now, I want to talk about kind of what led her to Sheila. I don't know if I missed something because, like, I'm not gonna lie, these last few episodes been a little bit dense, and I've been kind of trying to keep up.
When she promised Quentin at the end that if he didn't want her there, she would just open the book and find the spell that took her to where she needed to be.
Right. So I guess my question is, I think I thought at first that just led her to Modesto in general, but did that specifically lead her to Sheila's house?
To Sheila.
Got it.
She even makes, like, there's that kind of little nice touch of Sheila's mother used to collect glass figurines.
Yeah, I loved that moment.
Yeah, and that Alice used to, you know, because of her brother.
Of course, tying it all back to season 1. I like that continuity.
A lot of season 1 callbacks.
Right?
Penny.
Yeah. Oh man, we'll get to that. Absolutely. I'm excited to talk about that. But as the episode goes on, we find out that Sheila has these sort of powers of her own.
Yeah.
She can kind of locate things.
I thought it was a bit convenient how Alice found that out.
That's exactly right.
There was a point where I wrote, a little too convenient, and I spelled convenient wrong, but whatever, ignore that. There were some movements in the show, particularly when it came to Alice and Sheila / Cameron Manheim, who I love, that just felt like, okay, well, how nice that at that moment Alice happens to be spying on her in that moment and decides to follow her in that moment. It just, I don't know, they kind of reference that people can feel magic at the end of the episode, and maybe that's what she was feeling, but without that explanation, I was kind of like, it's a tad convenient.
Sure, I can see that. I can see that definitely. So, but after after she finds that out, after she kind of discovers the nature of Sheila's powers, she kind of, doesn't want to do it. She doesn't want to teach her the ways at first. She basically, like...
Magic is cursed.
Right, exactly. It's almost like knowledge is power, but like in a bad way,
Yeah.
Like it's too much power.
Yeah.
But eventually kind of wears her down. She starts teaching her about these different things. They end up... she ends up telling Sheila about this purification spell.
So yes,
Right?
a lot of little political references this
Yeah.
episode with tainted water that the government doesn't care to clean. And then I know we're not there yet, but Penny and Marina definitely had a reference. People in cages is never not personal.
Right, that's right.
I was like, ooh. So
timely.
it has begun the political commentary this season of The Magicians.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I appreciated that they were touching that, and I also, I appreciated that they made it happening to people that people could see themselves in, people who maybe don't think about Flint ever being something that can happen to them, especially as we're beginning to realize that tainted water is happening like as a major problem throughout the Midwest. It's not just Flint, it's other parts of Michigan, and it's even entering into Illinois. So it's nice to have that commentary, because it kind of reminds people like, hey, this can happen to you and to people who look like you.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sheila tells Sheila tells Alice that there's lead in the water.
Yeah.
She teaches her this kind of purification spell, but along the way, now let's kind of back up a little bit. Sheila, once she kind of learned about magic, and once she sort of took these lessons from Alice, got a knock on the door from some local librarians.
Yeah, which also a little too convenient.
Sure.
I mean, if Sheila's had these powers for however many months, why did they just not notice it?
I guess what I got from that is the fact that, like, now that she knows more about it and knows more how to kind of harness it, that's what sort of made them able to feel it, like, because she was only using it to locate random things and to tithe to the church, basically. It wasn't big enough to pop up on the radar.
But they came to her after she donated the money, not before they did the water purification
is that right?
spell. So that's why I was like, that's a little convenient that they come right as Alice is there, and maybe they felt the shift of Alice being there.
Sure.
Just sometimes I just want, like, either an explanation for why things are a little too convenient, or just take it and make it where, like, yeah, I got this pamphlet from these people a few months back.
But Alice kind of taught her about magic before the purification spell, right?
She did, but that's only after, like, the magicians are there, the librarians are there the next morning after she finds the money and after Alice confronts her.
Oh, okay.
And so that's why I was like, well, maybe they feel magic coming off of Alice because she did the one little trick with the coffee, but...
Oh, sure.
Still, that's just too fast.
Right. I see what you're saying, for sure. And I think, speaking of convenient, I think it may have also been something along those lines when Sheila was able to kind of sense that broken pipe.
Yeah.
That's
a little, yeah.
They needed more ambient magic to kind of extrapolate the water purification spell to kind of clean the whole water supply.
Yeah.
So they find a broken pipe, end up breaking it more.
Yeah.
But
that's just, I get it. But at the same time, it's one of those things where when you have too many convenient things happening in one episode, I know we said convenient a lot. I'll probably say convenient even more the rest of the episode.
Right.
And I apologize. Then you start to kind of lose me.
Sure.
Because if you spread it out over the course of a few episodes, that's, okay, that's more believable. I'm not going to notice it as much. But when everything's happening in a certain type of way, I at least hope they have, like, some type of explanation for how that all went down, and maybe that ties back to the book bringing Alice there in the first place.
Sure. So let's take that and let's pivot that in a different direction. Rather than talking about the conveniences of the narrative, let's talk about how wise it would have been for Sheila to break that pipe in that way. Because you got to think that Alice would definitely know that wouldn't go unnoticed by the librarians, right?
Yes, but I also think she probably thought it wouldn't tie back to them. And I don't really know.
Oh, like they might not necessarily know that it was them?
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Or maybe, Alice is kind of safe in terms of as long as nobody talks about Alice, nobody's going to know that Alice is there.
I see.
So, because she has that cloaking spell on top of her, just like everyone else.
Oh, sure.
Else does.
Mm.
But at the same time, I don't know. There's no way that they could have, not realize that might have some repercussions. Even if you are helping the town, which should be helped, and you should have clean water.
Right.
Period. If you, period. Everywhere.
Right, exactly, yeah.
But at the same time, there are going to be repercussions to dealing with a tyrannical regime. So.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, the library kind of gets their own bit of inconvenience, I guess.
Yes.
That same gas station head
expecting some nice little domestic terrorism.
Right?
I was like, whoa, okay, just blowing crap up. And at first, when they blew up the library, I was slightly confused, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. That yes, the librarians would be librarians, and in real life too, not just in their little pocket.
Right, the local Modesto branch. Yeah.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, right.
I always wanted to be a librarian.
Did you?
Yeah.
One of my very first community service like I don't know, jobs, gigs or whatever, like as like an 8th grader was just stamping books at the library.
Oh, yeah, I think I've done that.
Had my CD player, headphones on, stamping books.
Yeah, until I realized you have to have a degree to be a librarian.
Yeah, library science.
Just go be a librarian.
No, right?
Yeah, that's why I'm an actor. So.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anywho.
So we will get back to the rest of the episode, all that good stuff. We got a lot to talk about, RE timelines, the Eliot-monster, blah, 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 all that stuff. But, Miss Adrian Snow.
Yes, guys, before we move on to our next topic, we just want to say thank you for making us the ESPN of TV talk. For us to continue to grow, we could use your help. If you're on YouTube right now, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. And if you're on iTunes, please give us a 5-star rating. But no matter where you are, leave us a comment so you can get involved in the conversation. Being a part of the AfterBuzz TV has meant so much to all of us, and we truly appreciate you supporting us and doing what we love. Don't forget to tell your friends and keep enjoying our shows.
Absolutely. We've been doing this a pretty long time.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for 3.5 seasons. If you want to go back, you can go back on YouTube, check out seasons 1, seasons 2, seasons 3.
See how we've gotten better with age,
right?
Both in mentality and looks.
Exactly.
We're just out here doing a thing.
We want to be part of the conversation. Find us on social media. Let's all talk about magic. Speaking of which, let's talk about Penny and Marina and their adventures in horomancy.
Yes.
So they're
Stoppard.
So they're taken by this kid Stoppard, who he just wants them to go back to where they came from.
Yeah, 23.
Wants them to go back to timeline 23, so that his mom Sonia.
How did he figure out a little too convenient?
Sure.
How did he figure out that they were the anomaly?
Right, that's a good point.
They didn't belong where they belong. I mean, I guess he's a horomancer, so he's probably got that down on lock.
Right, can probably kind of narrow it down to what exactly is the difference, you know? So they, he's got them in cages. That's where we get that line, people in cages is never not personal.
Yeah.
I love that line.
It's not. Real talk.
But then they escape his clutches. They go to this other timeline. Which timeline was this? Did we ever find out?
We didn't find out exactly
which one.
What timeline it was. I thought they were going to go to 23 and immediately meet like Quentin, the Quentin version of. Oh my God, I'm blanking. The big bad of season 1.
The Beast.
The Beast.
Oh,
the
Quentin
is
Beast.
The Beast.
That's
in 23.
right.
So when they brought them to what they called a 1984 / the Crucible timeline,
sure.
And I was like, are you not going to reference that this is kind of like 1940s, 1930s Germany?
Oh, sure, right. That was kind of, exactly.
Guys, you're hunting a particular group for being different. Like, that sounds like, the Holocaust.
Right. Maybe that was too on the nose. Who knows?
Maybe they didn't want to go that far. I totally understand. You are actively hunting people and making them go into hiding for being different. So I actually really wanted to spend more time in that timeline.
Me
as much
too.
as I don't enjoy any type of particular Holocaust storyline sometimes.
Sure.
I wanted to just see other people or other versions in that timeline to see what was going on with them.
Yeah, I would have liked to see kind of whatever governing body it was that implemented this sort of like force, this kind of police state.
Yeah, and you kind of get there was, especially with the way that the librarians have taken over the prime timeline, and with the hedge witches whatever. I can't think of the word. Deciding to blow up the library.
Sure.
You get the feeling that, like, oh, this is kind of like what could be the start of that other timeline, if you really think about it. If the government were to get a hold of the idea that magicians exist and they're out in the world and they're now a threat to humanity, I could definitely see this timeline curving into that timeline.
Right.
Which is, I'm just putting that out there. It'd be, I don't want to see that, but I could kind of see a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But I don't want a full season of that.
Where we basically end up getting the magician equivalent of like the Mutant Registration Act.
Or Mutant Registration Act.
Yeah.
So, but that was kind of cool to put those two together when you see, like, oh, well, this is kind of how that would start. It's like when you see Handmaid's Tale and they talk about how things start. It starts off really simple. And
Sure.
You don't really see it coming, and then all of a sudden it's there. So, maybe we'll get to play with that timeline a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk a little bit about Stopper's mom, Sonia. She kind of pioneered the whole discipline of horomancy. It wasn't even a discipline before, but
she's like rotted her brain.
exactly.
Cinnabar. So a cinnabar with a little dandelion that Penny 23 has at the end. Was that like pure cinnabar? Is that cinnabar?
I didn't even think about that.
I was like, why is he blowing it? And then why is that going to drive Stopper crazy? Did you?
I didn't see. I don't know. Like I don't always trust myself with wrapping my head around everything that happens in the show.
I watched it twice and I still couldn't figure it out.
Exactly. Yeah, me too. What I thought the implication is just that strictly just because it was something from a different timeline, and that once it kind of rooted itself.
Yes, you've got it.
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
That it would basically disrupt her.
Yeah.
Damn, that's cold.
I know. But I mean, as we find out, she's kind of doomed either way.
Yeah, she's gonna die in a month either way.
Right.
But maybe she wouldn't have died in a month.
Right.
If we hadn't blown all the friggin' dandelions everywhere.
A little bit more time.
Come on, Penny.
Right.
Give the woman 2 months.
So, but let's talk about Penny 23 meeting Penny 40.
And the sadness of knowing that Penny 40 is done.
Yeah.
And not coming back. Like,
oh my
that
God.
broke my heart. There was a, our Penny, ! He ain't coming back, frowny face. That's what I wrote.
That really bummed me out. And I think that's a testament to not only the writing, but also the acting.
Yeah.
The fact that Arjun Gupta can, like, play these different pennies so distinct from each other.
It was great to see them in the same room, because then you clearly see, oh, these are actually two different pennies. And the feeling that I had, just like the actual, cast feels, is that, they all want original Penny. It's because Arjun's doing such a good job of playing Penny 23 as a completely different version of Penny.
Right.
So he doesn't feel the same. He doesn't even use the same cadence in his voice.
No.
I always appreciate when actors change the cadence in their voice. It's very hard to do. Consistently. But, just there's a different vibe to Penny 23, which is a more adult Penny. And I think even last season I was like, I appreciate
That's
that
an
he's
interesting
like more
point.
of an adult, calmer Penny. But at the same time, he's not the Penny that I watched for 3 seasons.
Right.
And so it's kind of like, oh, I know it's the same actor. I'm just being like a jerk, but...
But that's exactly what I was thinking. It's the fact that we still get Arjun in the show. We still get Penny in the show.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's not our Penny, the fact that it feels like our Penny, Like, I hadn't realized that we hadn't really seen that Penny
I've been saying
since
it
he
all
died.
season. I was like, where's my Penny?
Right.
Did he eat that cupcake? Did he forget who he was?
Oh, the cupcake, yeah. And so, I didn't realize that it had been a while since I thought about him and where he had been. And the fact that, no, he's still dead, and he's still serving out that sentence with the library.
He's accepted it, and he's okay with it, and
I feel like that's the part that really broke my heart, the fact that he's made his peace with it.
I think it was that cupcake.
When he just straight up said, it's not my timeline anymore.
Yeah, he's like, it's not my timeline anymore. Tell Katie I love her. This is, you have to stay. You have to take over for me. And I was like, but Penny 40.
I know.
What happened? We're not going to see you in, like, shirtless vest anymore.
And have we gotten a chance to kind of explore Penny 23's relationship with Quentin?
No.
Because I feel like Penny 23 is infinitely more kind of empathetic than Penny 40 was.
Yeah, but I also think Penny 23 wants nothing to do with Quentin because Quentin in his timeline is evil. So
That's also
that would
true.
also probably explain why they haven't really been in the same room.
It's true, but he doesn't bully Quentin the way that Penny 40 did at one point.
No, but he's still Penny. You
Sure.
know, it's like if Adrian 1,567,000 whatever walked in right now, she'd still be some variation of me. We'd be the same person because
Sure.
we're the same person.
Sure.
But we have gone through a different life. And
Exactly,
so,
yeah.
Like even the scene with Josh from last episode with Penny and him, it's clear that Penny is still a Penny because
Right.
the way he treats Josh, the way he kind of was like, if you in any way come after Julia, I will fucking kill you.
Right, exactly.
So, he's still that Penny.
Yeah.
It's still a part of him.
So at the end of this kind of arc, where Marina is back with her girlfriend in timeline 40.
Yeah. Same girl.
Are we kind of done with Marina?
No.
No, you don't think so?
I think we keep thinking we're done with Marina, and then we get a Marina from a different timeline. And
Sure.
then we'll probably get a Marina from, a different universe. We're never going to be done with Marina.
Right.
I don't mind that. I like Marina.
Absolutely. No, I love her for sure.
But I still thought Katie cursed her, and then she didn't. She just got kidnapped.
That's right.
By that dude.
By Stoppard,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, now...
Or they got auctioned.
That's what it was.
Which is super dark.
Yeah.
Auctioning people. Whoa.
I forgot about the auction part. Yeah, exactly.
Really dark. But yeah, they got kidnapped by that guy who approached her, episode 1 or 2?
Yeah.
And then approached him last episode.
Right. So what's Penny's kind of end game now? Now that he's sort of escaped Stoppard, now that he kind of doesn't have to worry about him.
I don't know.
What's his next step?
Worship Julia.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what he does, right?
So let's talk about Margot and Josh kind of stuck in Fillorian.
Yeah.
But not only that, but without the aid of talking animals to kind of be the conduit between them and sort of the Earth realm, I guess.
To know when they need to get back to be able to talk to Penny.
Right, right. So we find out from Tick, who Tick is still one of my favorite characters in the show. And I love that now that he's back to being sort of like this kind of like sycophantic sort of like yes man. Like
she's difficult.
I love his delivery. Rizwan Wanji, who we have had on the show. Speaking of which, you can go back, watch that episode.
Yeah.
so
Premiere,
funny.
season 2 premiere?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So we find out that it's it's the juice of the beet that is grown in West Loria that will be able to fix the animals and make them speak again. But it's Captain Pike of Codswall that kind of.
You mean Clitswell?
Exactly.
You mean Coxwell?
All the different,
You mean one of the fingering?
The fingering islands.
I was like, wow, way to make everything sexual, Margot.
So she's kind of she rules over that land due to an ill-fated war between Idri and Rue, and the sister Rue.
I love how that happened completely off screen, and they're just like, this big thing happened.
Saw that happen, man.
You were gone for a long time.
Exactly.
There are repercussions to erasing your memory and becoming a different person.
That's what happened in the unseen, Fen season, in between,
Oh, can we get
right?
a Finn episode where it's just a flashback to what she went through, and she's like knife fighting and she's badass? Can we get that?
I forgot about her, affinity for knives now.
She's a knife maker's daughter.
So throughout the episode, we kind of were following Josh and Tick and Finn trying to convince Margot to be diplomatic and sort of do what Eliot would have done in his absence.
What would Eliot do?
Right. What did you think?
I don't think that's Margot's job.
Right.
I mean, Margot is Margot, and sure, she has empathy, even though she tries to deny it. I mean, there's a reason why she let Josh infect her with the wolf curse.
Of course.
You know, and there's a reason why she is still High King, because she was able to get the talking animals on her side
Sure.
for diplomacy.
The
But-
grizzly bear talking about his fifis is one of my favorite lines of the episode.
But at the same time, you know, she was right to do what she did, because that's not the Margot that you need in that moment. You don't
Sure.
need a diplomatic Margot. You need someone who realizes that somebody's playing a game with her, and to be like, yes, I will skin and eat all your friendly alpacas.
Right.
I totally get that.
There's a time, I think you're right. At first I thought, I mean, I get where everyone's coming from, but I think you're absolutely right. There's a time
Yeah.
for Margot, there's a time for Eliot,
Yeah.
and in this moment,
And it makes sense for her to start off kindly. I always think you should start with kindness, and you know, give people a few chances to respond to that kindness. And if they're not going to respond to that kindness, you know, then they got to see the bitch.
right.
So-
She did have to drink some awful, gross-looking, chunky-ass alpaca milk.
Yeah, she was trying to be nice. She was disrespectful.
Sure.
Clit swell, cock swallow,
Of course.
fingering. I just want to say it again. I love
It's like,
it.
you know what it's
You
called
know.
at this point.
You know what it's called. But at the same time, you know, if you're faced with oh God, as a woman, if you're faced with what people term a difficult woman, which is bullshit.
Right.
Sometimes it pays to be a little difficult back, because it's respect.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Well, yeah. It's not, you know, because it's just I'm going to stand my ground, which I think often women don't get to have that type of persona in life or anywhere, in television, film. And so to have two women get to face off and be like, well, you know, this is how I roll and this is what I want to do, and I'm a person of my word and I'm not going to stand down. You have to top that. If it were two men, it wouldn't be a question.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's talk about the ramifications that all of this has on Margot's relationship with Josh and their kind of dynamic.
She said some mean stuff. That was mean.
That was pretty brutal.
That was mean.
Now, what do you
But-
think about Josh coming at her from the perspective of like, oh, you out-Elioted Eliot? You know, that's kind of what pushes her over the edge.
I mean, you gotta, as they say, know your audience.
Sure,
You
read
know,
the
that's
room.
not gonna fly with Margot. And she already referenced earlier that Elliot's not here anymore.
Right.
And so that's her saying, I want to run things the way I want to run them. And he's able to talk her down from that. But I think it's best to always approach people from lifting them up and not comparing them to other people. But being like, oh, you know, I'm so happy that you did try it the diplomatic way. But
Sure.
clearly your way worked. And so, and he kind of messed up in that regard. But at the same time, I mean, I don't really know what's going on with Josh and Margot. I guess they're in a relationship now because they boned.
Right. Well, he's got that line, you know, he says here, I thought I was just a friend that wanted to be your boyfriend. So it doesn't sound like they're there just yet, but that's what he's kind of angling for.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem like she didn't just straight up, you know, ice him out, you know?
No, and she tried to apologize.
Right. But then,
you know, those fights happen.
now we get that line from Josh. He says, you know what, believe it or not, Margot, I know exactly who you are. Because he says, you know, he's, what is it? She says, I didn't mean, and then he finishes the sentence, didn't mean to hurt me. And he goes, yeah, you did. I know exactly who you are.
Yeah.
Which, like, that was like, I loved that moment, you know,
Yeah.
that sort of, that exchange between the two.
Yeah, I think it's a little early to. Their relationship isn't quite as lived in as like a Eliot and Quentin,
Right.
or a Katie and Penny. So I think they can
Now,
afford to give us, the audience, some time to fall in love with the relationship.
To that point, when you say relationship, do you mean their romantic relationship or just their kind of interpersonal dynamic in general?
Everything.
I see. Sure.
Because we don't have. I guess occasionally he was her Uber driver in their alternate life. 'cause we see
When he
that
was
at the
Isaac
very
and
end.
she was Janet, yeah.
But at the same time, we haven't really seen them interact that much. You
Right.
know, Josh for a long time was here and there, or you know, he's there to like bring in a party and then he'd disappear.
Sure.
So it might be asking a lot of us to ship or raft as Perry came up with last season.
Our favorite term.
This relationship. So just give us some time. 'Cause
Right.
They're moving very quickly. Give us some time.
Exactly,
Give
I can
them
see
some
that.
time.
I can see that. Now let's talk about like some of my favorite parts of this episode with Quentin and Julia and the
Darth
Eliot-monster and this resurrected mummy.
Yes, that mummy did the most beautiful physical acting I've seen in a long time when they leave him there.
God.
And he's just like,
That moment.
what am I going to do now?
When Julia says goodbye and they just leave him and we get that lingering shot.
I'm just like, well, what is that? And also like, oh my God, who are the museum employees that have to walk in on that the next morning?
Exactly.
Poor babies. He's just going to get hooked in the head again. I feel so bad for that mummy. He's going to die immediately. People don't play. We are terrified of mummies.
So I think, to that point, that was a wild move on their part to just leave this resurrected mummy without.
I would have thought they would have at least hooked him again.
That's exactly right,
Sorry.
Yeah. But then we also get drunk Eliot-monster.
Darth Eliot.
Yes.
Darth Eliot.
Exactly.
He's...
This body loves tequila. He calls Julia Julia at one point, which
Oh, I didn't catch that.
it really got me when the mummy is trying to explain his sort of writing, and Julia can't understand it. He goes, "Give him a break, Julia."
He's talking and they can't understand him. Yeah, it's. I didn't at first. I was like, wait, does Eliot, and maybe I'm just daft, but does Eliot have like a serious drinking and drug problem? I guess.
Oh, like real Eliot?
Yeah, I just assumed he always was like a party guy, and he can sober up and be fine and run Fillorian without
No, I feel like his alcohol problems have been touched on a few times.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Just being daft and, naive.
I mean.
Well, he just seems like.
Well, I think
he
that,
didn't drink it for a long time.
Right, and I think that's part of the part. I guess the problem, quote unquote, is that like he can do so much of it and still just be able to kind of pass it off like nothing's wrong.
Functioning alcoholic.
I
think also there might be something because this is kind of new to it happening to Darth Eliot, which makes me think that it may be something that Eliot on the inside is doing. That he's actually.
Interesting.
Operating this.
That he's sort of. I can see that. I can see that for sure. So basically, they're hieroglyphics that they found on those stones.
The yellow fruit.
That were exactly that were taken from the gods that Darth Eliot has killed at this point. Leads them to this museum. They're looking for Heka, who has already been killed, and kind of where whatever was in his body remains now.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of brought them here.
And Esna, the Temple of Esna.
That's right. That's what it was. Yeah. And so who knows? Yeah. So they're on their quest to kind of rebuild this body and hopefully get Eliot back.
Yeah.
But I love that we're getting the juxtaposition of Darth Eliot and kind of the grim, dark nature of that story, along with a lot of like the best comedy that we've seen in the show.
And they've always done such a good job of balancing that.
Yeah, exactly. So we mentioned Heka, which I think is a perfect segue for Adrian's God of the Week.
I'll be super quick.
Disappointed!
Yes!
So good.
Here we go. So, God of the Week is Heka. He's the Egyptian god of magic and medicine. Heka's actually, they called him the Ka. The Ka part of the name was the Ka force. Heka itself is also the Egyptian name for magic. And he was essentially like the invisible force, or Ka is like basically like the vital force, or, the soul. So he kind of encompassed everything, which is why he was never had really any type of. Sorry, I went in deep with that guy. Never had any type of like temples or rituals where people would go and worship him. It was considered to be worshipped by, or considered to be everything. Where else am I going here? So, a big thing that I found is that there's not a ton of information about Heka. I had to do a little bit of deep dive to get to him. But when you deep dive to get to him, what you realize is that everything about Heka was stolen by the Greeks. So, Heka was given I'm going to say it wrong.
Oh, the caduceus.
Caduceus.
Yes.
The caduceus was passed down to him. It was originally associated with the Nanazu of summer, which is a separate god.
Oh.
But then it was given to Heka before traveling to Greece and becoming the caduceus that we know to be the rod of, I'm going to mess this up too, Asclepius and the rod of Hermes. The caduceus is what we know in the medical profession to be like the sign of the medical profession. Like if you see that, you know a doctor is nearby and you can get help. Which ties back into what the Egyptians believed. The whole point of Heka was that medicine and magic were not separate, that they were combined, and that you would have to praise Heka in order to perform a procedure as a doctor. And so it's just something to think about, that he's the invisible force behind the visible gods. So.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
There we go. See, we learn here on AfterBuzz every week, week in, week out. Before we wrap up, let's get into some very, very quick predictions.
Predictions, not perditions. This is not the road to perdition.
Oh man. Oh, what are we predicting here?
Oh man, I don't know. So they're definitely going to do something with Cameron Manheim. It's going to hurt my feelings.
Right.
Alice is going to definitely get down with that hedge witch dude because he has swoopy hair.
So where do you think the female hedge witch comes in?
She's just there to blow up the place. But,
Okay.
You know, it's going down. Penny 23 and Julia are definitely going to get it down. I'm just going to talk about people who I think they're going to have sex.
Sure.
Darth Eliot is at some point definitely going to find his body, and I think I hope they bring in that whole thing, the whole idea of the invisible force behind the visible gods. That'd be really cool.
There you
That's
go.
all I got.
Yeah, and like Manon as the craft the witches from the craft would call it.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, but that was like an actual like kind of crazy god.
Exactly. Yeah. I gotta watch that again. I think to your point, I think that the blowing up of the library branch is going to lead us to a much firmer new world order than we were already seeing from the librarians. So who knows? We'll see that. I think you're right that the Eliot inside may be kind of puppeteering.
Yeah,
Darth
to get him
Eliot.
to be more of a drunk, because it's kind of
Once that wall comes down.
Yeah, but also I think that Darth Eliot might be a Titan, so that's another thing.
Oh man, that's a whole new can of worms.
Yeah.
Guys, find us on Twitter, find us on Instagram, be part of the conversation.
Yes.
Let's all talk about the magicians. Adrian, where can they find you?
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Miss Adrian Snow. You can also catch me this Tuesday on General Hospital on your local station.
There you go. Guys, you can find me on all forms of social media at Ty Matthews PMA. That's Twitter, that's Instagram, that's PlayStation Network. Come play Overwatch with me. Batiste is coming soon, so I'll be playing a lot of that. I am on our season finale of the Titan Games after show tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Pacific. We'll be talking about The Rock. You know, just doing what we do. But it's the last episode of the season, the Battle of the Titans. So come join us then. You can find me on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. If wrestling is your thing, who knows? Saturdays,
This guy.
1 a.m., all that sort of stuff. But we'll be right back here next week talking Season 4, Episode 7. But until then, peace.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.